Tenants and advocates are upset after an apartment complex refused to rent to lawyers. And a landlord in New York is suing his tenant for tossing poop. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have a couple of interesting articles for you today, and these are a little bit more lighthearted than the normal news that I'm covering. But I was like, you know what? So much stress. Why don't we just, have a little laugh here at the ridiculousness of the situations, okay? So, excuse me. The first article I'm going to be covering today, it's going over this apartment complex down in Florida, which has decided that they do not want to rent to lawyers. And hey, can you blame them? I mean, lawyers are known for causing problems for landlords, okay? Now, the second article I have, it's a interesting situation with a tenant who isn't paying rent and seems to like to toss poop, okay? So the landlord is suing this tenant and trying to get them out of their unit. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. On the first article, okay, would you want to rent to a lawyer? I don't know if I've ever even had a lawyer apply to rent any of my units. I'm not 100% sure. I deal in lower income housing, but I've had doctors apply for one of my single family houses, and I've had higher end professionals, but I don't think I've ever had a lawyer. And you got to wonder, because when you're dealing with somebody who is very, very knowledgeable with the law, and I'm not saying that they're going to be a bad tenant. What I am saying is they might be very nitpicky, okay? And if you don't have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed, you could end up in a mess. And that's probably part of the reason why this apartment complex doesn't want to rent to lawyers at all. But anyway, let's get into this first story. So it's coming from CBSNews.com, and it says, Coconut Creek resident says apartment complex won't allow attorneys to live there. Yeah, let's hope they go into the reasoning here. So let's get into it. Renting in South Florida has been difficult in recent months because of pricing, and now there's news that certain complexes are making it harder for specific professions. It said they do not accept rental applications from practicing attorneys, non-practicing attorneys, law students, said a Coconut Creek resident who asked us not to disclose her identity. And she described the application process to rent at Forest Point Apartments. I had to read it twice. I was thinking maybe they get a discount or something. And then I said, what are they afraid of? Added the woman who was in the application process to rent at the property. Well, they're afraid of ridiculous litigation. That's what they're afraid of, okay? So when we're talking about lawyers here, right, and they give themselves these bad names of being, crazy, suing over ridiculous non-issues, just trying to abuse and punish people who they think, they can take advantage of. And so, there's a few bad players out there that have given the whole profession a bad name. And, it's just like landlords, honestly, okay? But do you want to take the risk of putting one of those bad players in your unit? And this apartment complex says, no, we're not going to do it, okay? We're sitting here and we're in eviction court with lawyers all the time, and the lawyers are making up garbage, lying about us. So why would we want to put those people in our units? We wouldn't, okay? So yeah, I don't blame people for not trusting that the lawyer is going to have good intentions if they move in. Okay. Yeah, too many bad lawyers out there have ruined the name of the reputation, or the reputation of the profession. Excuse me. So CBS 4 contacted Forest Point to get answers. First, we sent an email but got no reply. Then we gave them a call. Finally, we paid them a visit, but the representative there declined to comment. So we reached out to attorney David Weinstein to get his take. So do you think it's a little bit funny that they reached out to an attorney to get an attorney's take on attorneys being banned from the unit? I'm sure the attorney isn't going to be on the side of the landlords. I'm certainly surprised that this landlord is excluding my profession from leasing at their property. I'm sure that there are a number of other individuals who are glad that this landlord is not letting lawyers rent at their property, said Weinstein. According to Buddywise, attorneys are among the most hated professions. Surprisingly, Weinstein says it is legal for a landlord to exclude individuals on the basis of their job. Landlords are entitled to decide whom they're going to rent to, and they're entitled to exclude people based on their profession. And in this case, particular example, attorneys, as long as they're not excluding attorneys based on a specific category outlined in the Federal Fair Housing Act, added Weinstein. And he's right, okay? There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm going to exclude this person because, this job that they work. Now, as long as you're not, discriminating against somebody based on their race or religion or sexual preference or any of that other stuff that is, protected by the Federal Fair Housing Act, then landlords, they can do that, okay? So if they want to say, hey, I don't want any police officers living in here, even though, it looks bad, they can do that, okay? Legally do that. I mean, this is a private business here, and they are entitled to exclude people as they see fit. But, I don't know if it's a good business practice or not. Like I said, I do believe that, hey, the majority of attorneys are probably good people, but do you really want to take that risk? And this apartment complex said no. These categories include race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, and familial status. Still, not everyone agrees with the actions. There's got to be something we can do, whether it's illegal or not. It's crazy, and the housing situation is bad as it is. I'm just dumbfounded, added the resident. Weinstein says people should use this situation as a reminder to read all the fine print of all documents they sign. The housing crisis is leaving many desperate for help. That's why CBS News Miami wants to share your stories to show the crisis you're in or how navigating the system. And then they go into, they were looking for, I guess, hard up tenants right now to share their stories. But interesting article. I have to say, if I was this apartment complex, I believe that they do have the property rights. They should be allowed to do as they see fit, and there's nothing legally that they're doing wrong. Personally, I'm not sure if it's worth it or not, but if they've had a bad experience, I don't blame them. So let's go ahead and get into my second story, and this one is another funny, interesting story, and it's coming out of New York, right? It's coming from brooklynpaper.com, and it says, "Gotta go. East New York landlord sues a poop-tossing tenant for damages." Yeah, the title alone should tell you this is a good story, so let's get into it. An East New York landlord says the tenant at his Bradford Street building has got to go after numerous incidents of disposing of human waste in locales other than the toilet. Joseph Francois, the owner of 671 Bradford Street, a 3-unit home between New Lots and Hegeman Avenues, is suing his tenant, Nada Jack, in Brooklyn Supreme Court, claiming that she has overstayed her lease for nearly 2 years after being evicted, and in the interim, has turned the place into a grotesque circus where she and 2 other anonymous squatters regularly throw their urine out the window and dispose of their poop in the trash can. Wow, okay, that's pretty nasty. But what it sounds like to me is he actually has an eviction judgment against this tenant already, but she's still there. Okay, and what I'm guessing is that the whole pandemic protections, all the extra eviction protections, etc., are what's preventing him from getting this tenant out of there. So, like if you call up, like if you have the order, the eviction thing, and then you call up the sheriff's office or whoever's in charge of actually, performing the eviction, and they are so backlogged that they can't get to your unit, well, you can't evict those people. So it doesn't matter if he has the order or not, okay? Jack initially moved into the East New York abode in 2018, signing a lease with Jack valued at $640 per month. But her repulsive habits and her monthly non-payment of rent made her continued tenancy inhospitable, Francois claims, and he sought to evict her in September 2020, citing her presence as a nuisance, emergency situation, and in flagrant breach of the lease agreement. Yeah, who would have thought that you'd be able to rent a place in Brooklyn, New York for $640 a month, even in 2018, okay? That is cheap as heck, and to believe that he had her stay in there and she's abusing this super cheap rent, that's crazy. But yeah, I mean, He filed for eviction back in September of 2020. So right now it is June of 2022, and this lady's still living in the place. So almost 2 years later, and still can't get this lady out. And she apparently hasn't paid rent that entire time. Now, even though it's only $640 a month, right? We're talking about, tens of thousands of dollars after this long of period. Nonetheless, Jack remained in the apartment, and in concert with two anonymous friends whose names weren't on the lease, her bizarre behavior continued. Between 2018 and 2022, on no fewer than 6 occasions, Francois alleges Jack disposed of urine out of her window and tossed fecal matter in the garbage can. He also says she twice disposed of urine in the trash. Francois further alleges that Jack flooded the kitchen sink and bathroom on several occasions, often not reporting the mess, and that she and her friends would make loud noises into the night, frequently smoke K2, a type of synthetic marijuana. She would also steal other people's packages and food, says Francois. The landlord is seeking Jack's immediate eviction from the premises and an injunction requiring her to pay Francois 39 months of back rent, going back to December 2018, equaling $24,960 plus interest. And that is still a lot of money. Even with that low rent, owing almost 25 grand, okay, 39 months of back rent. I just wonder, what is the holdup on getting this lady out of there? I mean, obviously she is a nuisance and, just completely violating all terms of the lease. And it had to be this eviction moratorium. It doesn't say it in the article, but, it had to be that was the only thing that was keeping them from evicting her.